Since I won that fight, he's gone completely quiet, and he'll continue to go completely quiet about me until he retires, because there's no way on earth that he's going to fight me. Not a chance. I will retire Jon Jones without even fighting him.
Ladies and gentlemen, we sent that bitch packing. Jon Jones has officially retired and relinquished the UFC heavyweight title, meaning that Tom Aspinall is finally the undisputed UFC heavyweight champion of the world. I thought it would be a few weeks before I got to have this fucking victory lap, but we get to do it a little earlier. Christmas in June, baby. You've probably seen a million videos, tweets, stories now about Jon Jones' retirement, but something the legacy media isn't really talking to you all about is the real reason Jon Jones retired. Because he has court coming up soon as he ducks another criminal hit-and-run charge in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I mean, you can't make this shit up. There's so much to talk about and cover in today's video. All of it being centered around Jon Jones' retirement. I cannot wait to have these conversations. I genuinely cannot fathom how horrifically Dana White and the UFC handled this entire Jon Jones-Tom Aspinall situation. I want to show you all a couple clips back-to-back that I feel like really emphasizes the point I'm trying to make here.
Yeah, we know Tom Aspinall's down. Jones is kind of like on the fence, or at least that's what he said publicly.
Right.
Have you talked
It's weird.
How confident are
What's weird about that? Let me tell you what's weird about that. So usually those guys say that shit behind the scenes and not publicly. Jon says that shit publicly, but not behind the scenes.
Because he wants attention. He's a narcissist.
Jon is a very unique individual to deal with.
His wife would probably agree with that statement.
From day one, I've been confident that Jon Jones would do that fight, right?
From day one, he's been confident that Jon Jones would do that fight.
Heavyweight division, take the title away from him.
Jon Jones called us last night and retired. Jon Jones versus the heavyweight fight will happen. Jon Jones is officially retired. Tom Aspinall is the heavyweight champion of the UFC.
Before we continue to break down every single asterisk on the career of Jon Jones, I want to be fair here and hear from the man himself. Jon Jones tweeted, "Today, I'm officially announcing my retirement from the UFC. You all may not have the eye I have here and notice this M dash within his text. I would love for anybody to ask Jon Jones what an M dash is. You want to know why? Because he didn't fucking write it. But to be honest, I'm not surprised that Jon Jones didn't write this. ChatGPT is basically performance-enhancing drugs for writing, and we know Jon Jones loves performance-enhancing drugs almost as much as he loves hit and runs, almost as much as he loves criminal charges, almost as he loves hitting his wife, and almost as much as he loves ducking fighters." Let's break down the most recent situation from the Albuquerque Journal, and then reflect on the career Jon Jones had inside and outside of the UFC now that we no longer have to deal with him. Everyone knows Jon Jones loves running away from a challenge. The criminal complaint stated an Albuquerque police officer was investigating a traffic crash near San Mateo and Lomas when she came across a woman in the front passenger seat of one of the cars exhibiting signs of significant intoxication and lacking clothing from the waist down. The woman reportedly said Jones was the driver, but fled the scene on foot. She then called Jones, the complaint stated, and a police service aide spoke to the man on the other end of the call believed to be Jones. He appeared to be heavily intoxicated and made statements implying his capacity to employ lethal force through third parties to the PSA, the court record stated. Jon Jones wants to fight everybody besides people who bring him a challenge, whether that is innocent civilians, the police department, or this pantsless woman in his car. We may not get the pay-per-view we wanted of Jones versus Aspinall, but we are going to get the pay-per-view July 24th in the Metro Court. That is, of course, if he doesn't duck. What's crazy is that if you type in Jon Jones hit and run, you will find articles stemming all the way from 2015 to the current one I just talked about in 2025. We're averaging one Jon Jones hit and run every decade. I have to applaud him for his consistency. But what I will not be applauding Jon Jones for is walking away as the GOAT of the sport. There are a few asterisks. I don't know how that got there. I don't know how that got there either. There are a few asterisks on Jon Jones' resume that I really want to talk about and break down in this video, mainly because this is probably the last time we're going to be talking about Jon Jones on this channel. Or so we think. My little quick theory, if Tom Aspinall ever loses that belt, I wouldn't be surprised if Jon Jones decides he's coming back. You want to know why? Because he's always intrigued by super fights with Jamahal Hill and Derrick Lewis. I can't believe he really said this shit. But what else I can't believe is that Jon Jones said one of the core reasons he was ducking Tom Aspinall was because fighting a young and hungry up-and-comer did nothing for him. But at some point, believe it or not, way back in the day, Jon Jones was that young up-and-comer. Jon Jones was not the household name he is today. And Shogun kind of was. He had an established career in Pride FC, and he was giving a chance to the new young up-and-comer in Jon Jones. And whatever you do, do not Google how old Jon Jones and DC were on their second fights. It's ridiculous that was one of his main arguments as to why he wasn't fighting Tom Aspinall. When Jon Jones was the new up-and-comer, though, it was fine because the people ahead of him, those older than him, gave him the chance because they're real killers. They're real dogs who don't have to beat up on women to build their confidence. There was a plethora of older fighters that risked their legacies to fight Jon Jones. Jon Jones, however, would never dare to risk his legacy to fight Tom Aspinall, and at the end of the day, ended up having a bigger stain on it if he were to get in there and take the fight. Vitor Belfort, when he fought Jon Jones, was 35. Chael Sonnen was 36. Glover Teixeira, 34. DC was 35 and 38 whenever he fought Jon Jones. And of course, Jon ended up waiting until Stipe was 42 before he ended up taking that fight. The fact that throughout this process, one of the leading points Jon Jones led with was that he gains nothing from fighting one of the up-and-comers is ridiculous. But these are just some of the reasons why I believe Jon Jones isn't the GOAT. People will always look at the fact that he was the youngest ever UFC champion. But I'm always going to look at the fact that he was the only UFC fighter to have the most failed drug tests. When we go back and reflect on Jon Jones's failed drug tests, a lot of people want to immediately go back and point at Jon Jones DC2, mainly because this one was actually overturned and ruled a no contest because he popped. But a lot of people seem to forget and not talk about that Jon Jones popped on the first DC fight. And then we go on to the rematch, Jon Jones DC2. We already have to reschedule it once because he pops. And then when we reschedule the whole entire event, he knocks out Daniel Cormier, and then he pops again. In terms of the DC Jon Jones, you can find 3 failed drug tests in just 2 fights with the same guy. If you pop 3 times for one opponent, and we want to talk about Jon Jones being scared of Tom Aspinall, imagine the nightmares this guy got thinking about DC. But there is nothing that really stamps the fact that Jon Jones will never be the GOAT than his second fight with Alexander Gustafsson. When the promotion booked Jon Jones versus Gustafsson for UFC 232 in Las Vegas, believe it or not, Jon Jones popped during his drug test, and the Nevada State Commission would not allow the fight to continue, and rightfully so. So what does the UFC do? No, they would never strip Jon Jones. No, they would never suspend him. What they do is they move the entire event. The UFC moves the entire card to Inglewood, California, all because their golden boy, Jon Jones, once again popped during his drug tests. It's fucking ridiculous that after this guy retires, I'm going to have to pretend he's the GOAT of my sport. Absolutely fucking not. Guys, it's one thing to speculate, oh, Kamaru Usman is jacked, he's probably got PEDs, or, oh, Israel Adesanya grew a boob, he has gyno, he must be using PEDs. It's one thing to speculate that fighters are using performing-enhancing drugs, but Jon Jones gets fucking caught.
I'm going to keep this thing as active as possible. I want to be the best heavyweight ever to walk the face of the earth. I'm going to defend this thing as many times as I possibly can. I'm going to keep you guys entertained. I'm going to really give back to everybody who has shown me support over the last year, over the last 5 years, over the last 10 years. Really appreciate the support and love from everybody. And we're going to see an active, defending UFC heavyweight undisputed champion going forward. Thank you guys, and I'll speak to you soon.
How refreshing is that? I cannot wait for this new leaf of the UFC heavyweight division. Tom Aspinall is a breath of fresh air. If he somehow loses to Ciryl Gane, he won't. He'll get out of there quickly. But if he somehow loses to Ciryl Gane, I'll fucking delete my whole entire YouTube channel. We did it. We won. We sent that Jon Jones motherfucker packing. I'll see you guys in a few days to break down Topuria Oliveira. I just had to come in and talk about all this because it feels like we won.